y'all? How you perking? I hope you're perking good. So, really intense video lined up for today. We're going to be talking about the Israel-Palestine thing happening right now. I'm going to try to be as respectful as I possibly can, as I always try to on this channel. I'm going to try to be as open-minded as well. I like to do these videos from as neutral of a positioning as possible so that, you know, biases and influences and things like that don't really take hold, if at all possible. So, as always, going to try to come from that kind of angle here. And so as I'm trying to give respect to this topic, please, y'all as well, give respect to the topic, give respect to each other, give respect to me and the reading, all of that. So got all that out the way. Today, we're going to take a look at the questions that y'all have around this. So I have watched nothing, read nothing on this, because as soon as I saw that, I was just like, oh God, what is happening? And you know, I was being a little bit of an avoider, trying to put my head in the sand and not take a look at it. And I know, you know, we can't live like that. I'm going to have to face things and I will, but it actually works out that I'm kind of blind on this today, because what we're looking at today is we want answers. We want to know what's going on, what is going to happen. You know, is this gonna affect things here in the States? Is this gonna affect others? Like, what can we know? Should we be afraid? Should, you know, just anything that we can know, should know, are allowed to know right now about what's coming with all of this. And if there's any kind of context of things that have already happened that have not been clear and need to be clear, we want to look into that too. So just going to look into a lot of things today, try to get answers as best as we can here today. Got a good track record on the channel, so don't let that freak you out as I say that on this channel, I'm a licensed mental health clinician as well as a spiritual intuitive, and we take a look at the tea with the tarot. So speaking of the good track record, I just want to point out, I was actually having a private reading, a private session with someone earlier, and they said, well, you know, you predicted this in the October 2023 predictions video that you did 2 weeks ago. And I was like, oh, I did? You know, because whenever I'm channeling and doing predictions, I'm so in the moment that none of that gets put into like some working memory. It's just gone. It just goes in and through and out of my mouth. It's just in the moment as possible, because that's how channeling works, and it's especially how it works with me. And so I don't know what I really said exactly. Like, I can't remember what all I said in readings unless I watch it back. And any of y'all that have ever watched yourselves back on video before, you probably know it's cringy to watch yourself back on video. You don't want to see yourself. You don't want to hear yourself talk. You're like, oh, do I really sound like that? Yeah, I know. I know, same. So I don't usually watch my videos back, and I rely on all of y'all to clock every time a prediction comes true, and y'all are clocking them all the time. I used to try to make proof videos, and I still try to make proof videos every once in a while, but there's so many things coming true all the time that I can't keep up with it enough to make proof videos right now. So one of you that I was having a private session with today, private reading with today, said, yeah, go back to that video and find that little snippet of where you predicted this and put it into the beginning of this video before you start rolling everything else. So before we get into asking all the questions, finding out all the information that we need to know, here is where that came up. This prediction came up 2 weeks ago. Before anything went down in the October 2023 predictions video. Take a look. The trouble is then we kind of go with this piece here. And with this piece, there's something that gets a little out of control with the economy in October 2023. Something gets a little bit out of control, and there's several pieces and parts to this. So it feels like one thing that gets out of control starts not here in the US. So it starts somewhere overseas, because I've got my Three of Wands card in reverse. So somewhere overseas, something happens, and it causes October 2023's economy, like, you know, our world interrelated economy, to start having some weird shit go on. Not so good things going on. We take a hit with that some kind of a way, and it starts somewhere else. If I'm trying to get some sort of specificity in this, and you know, it's not always easy to do that with tarot, but if I'm gonna get specificity, it's like further east. So, you know, think east as in like China, Russia, you know, over there, that kind of area or something like that. There's some kind of an overseas something further east as I'm sitting here in the States. And that something starts there that starts to do weird things to the world economy. So that feels slippery. Like, I know that's a weird word to describe it, but it feels slippery. It feels like kind of losing some control, some kind of a way, like that we sitting here in the US would feel like it's somewhat of a loss of control or something like that, going in a direction that we don't want over here. And I assume that there are countries around that want similar things as the US. So people who want similar, or countries that want similar things as the US, would be equally upset or weirded out or uncomfortable about these shifts. But then people who are not necessarily wanting the same things as the US wants, they might be okay with this. But I still see it being kind of a hit across the world. There's a hit to one that has an effect on others in a negative way in October 2023, coming from the East relative to where I'm sitting in the United States. So throwing that out there just as a heads up is something that sufficiently needs a heads up. It warrants a heads up. Whew, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this one. Figure out what we can know from here on out. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the cards over here and move this microphone right here. Old Penelope and her pinks, trying to match me and my pinks and stuff that I have going on here. And as always, this is all alleged, just my interpretation, okay? All alleged, just my interpretation, just a girl reading cards, all right? Gotta say that. I know somebody on a previous video was like, well, if you have to say all alleged, doesn't that take away the credibility? I think that's a very valid question. I'm glad you asked that. YouTube. YouTube makes you say some things, because otherwise they get angry and they take shit down, or you get penalized. And so sometimes you got to go through the formalities and play along so that you can show I play well in the sandbox with others. Don't give me the boot. This is one of them. This is one of those times. So all alleged, just my interpretation. Thank you. All right. So shuffled up here, I'm going to leave this broad as I start out. I'm not going to even ask any specific little teensy-weensy questions here. I'm going to leave this broad starting out and just say, what is it that we can know about what's coming in this issue between Israel, Palestine, the Hamas group. Like I said, I haven't read anything or watched anything on this. I'm doing this blind today, for better or worse. And all I know is that I've seen thumbnails, thumbnail pictures that don't look pretty. And I have seen headline titles that don't sound pretty. And that's about as far into this as I am currently aware. I will educate myself after I finish filming this video blind. So anyway, where are we wanting to start here with it, light team? Give me some insights here, spirit guides, on what we're allowed to know about this. Okay. Ooh. Okay. So this is kind of painting a picture here as we go along, and as you see, it starts out decently and it just gets darker and darker from there. And this is in terms of what has already transpired. So don't freak out prematurely, like, what do you mean it's going to get even darker than this? We don't know yet. We're not there yet. We'll get there, okay? Please hold. But just to cover where they're coming at here first, they're saying that first, before all of this kind of went down, that there was some sort of trying to have a sense of control, trying to move forward with what people thought were going to be like the happy state. Like, hey, this is what would make things happy. This is what would make things okay. This is what would meet our needs, check our check boxes. So please do that. And it seemed like some kind of an attempt was made at some point in the recent past, I guess. And again, I don't know exactly what this pertains to, but that some sort of an attempt was made sometime in the recent past to be like, this is what we want. We're trying to move forward on this. We're trying to get some semblance of control on this. So where can this go? What can we do with this? And then boom, some fighting started to happen. So it seems like, and I know that those two countries, entities, whatever, have been, at odds for a very long time. But I'm seeing something here that looked good and like workable, dare I say peaceful or something, some kind of a, like, here's an outline of what I'd like, that would make me happy, that would fit what I need. But then I see fighting coming from that, like whatever it is they presented, it was like, vetoed down, like, nope, not going to happen, or something like that, in a way that they felt like whoever they, I'm putting that out here yet. It's not clear yet. We're just starting. We got plenty more to go. But whoever this entity was like, felt insulted by that. Like, what I'm asking for, in my opinion, is fair and reasonable, and you won't even allow that? Are you kidding? Like, that's a huge insult. And so based on that interpretation of I feel insulted, then this 10 of Pentacles in reverse is kind of like, it's again, feeling out of control, this negativity. It's kind of a breakup card in the tarot, sometimes a divorce card, in the tarot. And so it's kind of like, okay, our family is getting divorced and we're hemorrhaging now. This is not getting in control. This is not going into a better direction. And so boom, then we're given the Devil card upright. And the Devil card, as we know, negativity, extremity, toxicity, etc. And so it feels like, at least from how this is being presented, it feels like there is an entity involved here, whether it is a country, an organization, a person, that feels like they did their due diligence to prepare something that they felt is fair and reasonable, and they felt insulted by getting a no to something that was fair and reasonable, and that bred within them this toxic resentment and anger and frustration, and that has fueled everything that has already happened and everything that is about to happen. So this is looking really messy. I've used this example before, maybe it was in a private session, maybe it wasn't publicly, but the picture that I'm getting with this is If any of y'all know that kind of spin-off Harry Potter movie, like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and how there was this young guy, I don't know, was his name like Clarence, something like that, this guy, and how he, and sorry for spoiler alerts if you don't want spoilers, I'm about to do it, and how he was supposedly good at heart, but couldn't control his like anger and resentment and toxicity from his traumas and shame and everything from his past. And so he was just this whirling eddy of destruction and despair that was wreaking havoc on everything because he would lose control of himself. That's like the emotional vibe that I'm getting from this. I'm getting that kind of an emotional signature on this as it's starting out. So it looks like, however it's starting out where the spirit guides are trying to describe to us so that we can understand from an emotional resonance signature the why of why this is happening. And it seems like, and I don't know if this is going to be controversial, but I say what I see and I say what I get and I don't hold anything back. And so I'm sorry if this sounds controversial, but it seems like they are trying to have us look at this with some element of compassion around where this originated. That doesn't mean we have to have compassion for heinous acts or that we can excuse atrocities away. But what it does do is it's supposed to give us some layer of understanding. And that's what it's showing so far. So I'm going to continue pulling this. And since it's kind of talked about the past up until the present, I'm imagining that we're going to get present into future as we keep pulling. So, all right, so let's pull these up and reshuffle them back in. See what else that we can get here. What other insights and information that we can pull here. So as I'm getting shuffled up for the rest of this, the future unfolding, if you'd like to be a member of the Perk Squad, then you can click the blue join button below or the link in the description. And membership has lots of different perks. They're all listed there. If you click either of those things, then it'll detail it there, including weekly forecasts. I don't think that that has been listed there. And video shout outs. Shout out like this one. Shout out to you, Barbara Tatum, and thank you for being a member of the Perk Squad. Happy to have you here. Glad that you are with us, and thank you for being here. So shout out to you, Barbara Tatum, and thank you for being a member of the Perk Squad. Happy you are here. Yes. So we have a new set of things here that we're moving towards. All right, y'all. It makes me a little nervous when I kind of see some of those things here, but we're just gonna tread carefully and just see where this goes. So the Two of Swords here, upright. The reason why this kind of makes me nervous here in this lineup is because this is talking about the need to make some decisions. But the decisions that are going to be made, it's like people are kind of making them a little bit blinded. So this person here has a blindfold over them on this tarot card. And the reason why they're saying blinded to me is that the spirit guides are giving me, like, as an example, say you are just now starting to talk to someone online and you see some potential red flags, but you don't want to clock them because you're like totally into what you're, talking with this person. It's just vibing. The chemistry is real. And so you're like, no, it's cute or whatever. And then later you're like, it wasn't cute. It was a fucking red flag. Why was I so blind to see it? I was blinded by my emotions and I didn't see it. That's what I'm worried about here. That there are some decisions that will need to be made and need to be made relatively quickly. Like, the Two of Swords, it's a 2. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 2. We need to make those decisions fairly quickly. Like whatever these decisions are, I think they need to be made before before mid to end November, like within the next, handful of weeks, these decisions need to be made. And the problem is people are going to be making them blind because they are going to be wearing an emotional blindfold. They're not going to be able to see things objectively and clearly, and so they're not going to be able to make objective and clear decisions. That presents a problem. When you're talking about something this big and this powerful, it presents a problem. Objectivity is so important here, and I get that it is so damn hard. Who the hell can be purely objective, especially with stakes this high? I get it. I really do. But I'm telling you, it's what we need here. It's what we need here. We've got the Three of Pentacles card, which is that there are going to be people trying to play well together in the sandbox. So this is like people recognizing, like, okay. We've got to get on the same page here. We've got to figure this out. Honestly, this can't keep going on. Maybe this is a feeling of biting off more than someone can chew, or maybe this is a feeling of something's got to give, or whatever. There's a sense of that, and there's a sense of people having ideas around that, but it makes me nervous that, again, it's all through the lens of emotion, and that's tricky for something like this. So I'm a little bit nervous about the fact that there are big decisions that need to be made, and they need to be made quickly, but they're going to be made blindly in terms of how the spirit guides present this. It's going to be made blindly. So that is a concern. That is a concern. See the Page of Wands in reverse and then Ace of Wands upright. You notice these are very similar cards. One's in reverse, one's upright. There's a sense of canceling things out that's going to be happening. And like this is going to be what the spirit guides are presenting as a big deal. What they would be kind of thinking as, hey, this is a standout thing that needs to be recognized, this whole canceling out. And so it could be canceling out like you do this very positive thing, but then you turn around and do this negative bullshit thing. You just canceled out your positive. Or it's like, here, this person did this thing, but then you go off and do this thing, and now you canceled it out. And so it's a zero sum vibe, like a zero sum game. And for people who aren't really aware of kind of where they might be going with that, to my knowledge, and I'm not the be all end all on this, but to my knowledge, a zero sum game is when you don't really have any winners here. It's like everything just gets leveled out, and it's kind of a lose-lose. Like, in order for me to win, you have to lose. In order for you to win, I have to lose. That's not ideal here from their perspective, because they are showing that there should be a silver lining here of a way to have some sort of compromise so that each party is having a little bit of a win with a little bit of compromise on the back end, but kind of at least leveling out, and not this whole let's just put it all out there, floor it all, we both lose and you're the biggest loser or some crap like that. It's like we're not meant to have that. That's not how they're wanting this to go, but the concern here is that's the path that it's taking, which is, again, makes me nervous. So let's pull some more on kind of where this is going, because this is just continuing to be its own thing. Let's see if we can get any more information on where this is going here. And again, all of that, just my interpretation. Okay. Notice that even after repeat shuffling, and even with the fact that there's nearly 80 cards in this deck, still we're getting some similar cards popping up, and there's a reason for that. Obviously there's certain things that, patterns and themes that weave themselves across from question to question, because it's all being threaded by the same ball of yarn. So what we're seeing here for continuing on in the future, is that this whole scenario, when it's all said and done, is going to be viewed by both sides as a mistake. That's how I see it. Whether people are, quote unquote, man enough to admit it, that's, take the phrase however, whether they are strong internally enough to admit it, both sides are going to feel like, I regret that had ever happened. Because what we're seeing here is that there is going to be some sort of restoration of clarity along the way. And somebody's going to have to realize that they're not going to be able to get everything that they want from this. And they're going to have to let go. Other sides are going to feel like, hey, we've lost everything. They're going to feel like we've lost everything. There are others of us. So this is not just going to affect these two entities, these two countries, whatever. This is not going to affect just them. This is going to affect others around the world. And the fact that we are going to feel like this never had to be. This was a preventable issue. This shouldn't have had to happen. Like, are you kidding me? We're all paying a major price for something that shouldn't have had to be. That's going to be a big burden to bear, and they're not going to bear it well. They're not going to bear it well. It looks like there's going to be someone, whether it's a person, group, organization, or agency, that's going to have a pretty major fall from grace because of this, as a result of this. Like, it's going to be, that entity would have normally been well supported and seen in pretty high regard. And it looks like they're going to slip down a couple notches. That people are going to be like, oh, are these your true colors? Am I starting to see, how this really is? Well, now, you're not going to be able to fake and win me over with this bullshit again. I see the facade now. Like, there's going to be some kind of a falling from grace, and this feeling of pulling off a facade to show what reality is actually under there. It's kind of this, God, I hate these examples sometimes, but they give me pictures, whatever, mental pictures that go off of that. It's like those old Scooby-Doo cartoons where you pull off the costume and you see who's really under the mask. That's gonna come from this big time. Like, in terms of how this ends up being, if nothing else good comes of this, the spirit guides here are saying that is actually considered a good outcome of this. Is clarity on what's really going on and what's really at the core underneath the mask. Total mask off moment. And that is, worth its weight in gold, even if the issue itself is shitty, heinous, terrible, deplorable, preventable, avoidable, etc. That at least, I hate saying at least, because at leasts minimize everything that's happened, and I don't intend to minimize anything. In fact, hearts, prayers, mind, thoughts, everything goes out with all the victims, all the innocent people of any side, of any background, who are mercilessly going through things that they should not have to go through because they did nothing to deserve it. That I want to keep in mind. But what they're showing here is, at least if this horrible shit's going to go down, then at least we will at least have that mask off moment. I know, how many times can you say at least? Take a shot and get drunk. Don't do that. But they'd be able to have the mask off moment, and that will be really useful information, and it's going to change future directions for how these entities interact, how we interact with them, how they are perceived around the world, and how the world interacts with them. Like, if anybody wants to get a scarlet letter right now, you're doing a good job towards getting one, which not particularly advisable, but you do you. So there's a lot of intensity going on in this, a lot of intensity. I feel like we could continue reading off of these for forever, and we might have follow-up readings to this. Tell me if you have any additional questions around this that we could look into and could get answered, because, you know, this might need a follow-up reading. We might need to dive into further questions or more specifics or things like that. If you'd like to book a private reading with me, BeasTalksAndTarot.com. You can book a private reading with me. Got a lot of different services on there. So private readings, Reiki Energy Healing and Cleansing and Clearing, learning how to read the cards the way I read the cards, life coaching for anyone who feels stuck. All of that is on my website, BeasTalksAndTarot.com. And yeah, I'm going to put a B-roll at the end of this video here. So stay tuned for something lighthearted at the end of this, something jovial and fun and silly and whatever, silly little puppy shenanigans or stuff like that, just so you have a little bit of ending on a high note, being able to debrief it as you're watching the little B-roll video. You know, try to smile, try to breathe deep, belly breathing, you know, nice restorative breaths and things like that to come back to homeostasis after a heavy fucking reading like this. So anywho, thank y'all. Hope to see y'all on the next one. Looking forward to seeing your comments about what we need to look into. I'm gonna go educate myself on what the hell has been happening, because like I said, I haven't read or watched anything, so I'm fixing to. And again, sending all the best out to everyone involved, those who are being affected by this for no reason whatsoever, that they have done nothing wrong and they are still being affected by this. I hate that. I'm so sorry for that. Sending much love out to all of y'all, all of them. And take a look at the B-roll. Penelope and I are going to say, don't be a stranger. Come back and see me, and I will talk at you later. Bye, love you, mean it. Bye, love you, mean it. Bye. What do we have here? Yeah. Girl. You know you're in trouble, don't you? Yeah, you know you're in trouble. You have nervous tail wags. How dare you do it in front of me? How dare you do it in front of me? Oh my gosh. Girl. You need to repent. Repent!